7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
You'll never have the sacred stone.
Welcome into the Vegas Squares podcast. It is NFL playoff time, and that is one of the greatest parts of the new year is college bowl season. The big bowls are up, and then the NFL playoffs begin. I don't know about you guys, but ringing in the new year, knowing that these things are about to take place in the next few days, is usually the highlight of my 2019, or whatever the new year may be. This year happens to be 2019. What about you guys? I got Spike on mic 1, and I got Tony Johnson. He's going to be Token Tony's proxy for these picks on mic number 2. Gentlemen, Happy New Year.
Yeah, Happy New Year. Hopefully we're dead before the next one.
I hope not.
It's a little dark, but I echo your sentiment of really looking forward to football. I know people think about other more positive, probably more worldly things around the new year. Football is
more
is mine as
constructive.
well. Yeah, exactly.
Ours is just sports related.
Yeah, it's just sports. It's fine.
Yeah, I always kind of think about that in a grand scheme. Like when I find myself getting too far into sports or sports betting, you have to almost take a step back and realize it's just a game.
That's true.
And even when I find myself getting kind of nasty on Twitter and stuff like that, which I have been the last few days. Yes. I've been kind of nasty the last few days.
I've been following it a little bit now. See, I brought it up. You have been.
I have to take a step back and realize it is just a game, especially in college football with 18 to 20-year-old kids. And there's no sense in getting that worked up over things. But it's amazing. Even as nasty as I've been, people have gone to darker places than me on Twitter.
Oh, for sure. No question. I mean, you're the tip of the iceberg with some people, but still, I've been impressed with your intensity and the crafting of some of your tweets have definitely taken some time, for sure. You have not just fired one out in 3 seconds.
I fired a few.
A few. But I mean, there have been a few that where you've used, some sort of circling and things like that.
I did a Google search before I tweeted every once in a while. Yeah, exactly.
I very rarely I talk about sports mostly on Twitter. Very rarely talk politics. And today, I didn't even make a controversial statement. I was talking about the history of.
If you talk politics, it's definitely controversial.
That's why I was laughing.
I made a post. Somebody wrote an article about the last couple of years in the Libertarian Party nationally. And I wrote one comment, not even criticizing the article, not supporting the Libertarians, not going against them. And it sent a guy off on 4 tweets and then 3 or 4 direct messages to me.
Ooh. Oh, direct. See,
about
when you get into the DMs, that's
and I was serious. What the fuck?
Wow.
And
that's when you start getting things that you can provide to your prosecution attorney.
I toned down the language of what I was going to say. I wasn't even trying to say something controversial, but if I had phrased it a different way, it would have been slightly inflammatory. And this dude just went off. It was
Twitter
it was a little nuts.
Twitter can get crazy. I mean, everybody, like you said, everybody has a voice, which for good or for bad, everybody gets one. And when you really almost have no fear of repercussion, your Twitter fingers start to get a little antsy.
Yeah.
And I'll be the first to admit too. I've said some things. I'm like, oh man, I would never say that to somebody's face in my life. So I get it. So. But I definitely don't post, or I definitely don't tweet on personal accounts just for fear of, my employer. But even then, even if they trace back the podcast account, I may have to sit in the principal's chair for a few of those. All right. Nevertheless, this is the Vegas Squares podcast. You are listening here on Saturday on 12-Ounce Sports Radio. In this episode, we will be doing our picks for the first 2 wildcard games here Saturday. Indianapolis at Houston, which is our 4:35 p.m. Eastern game, 1:35 here on the Pacific, and then the Dallas hosting Seattle, which is the night game at 8:15 Eastern, 5:15 on the Pacific. Better of the 2 games in your mind from just a fan standpoint?
For me, I want to see how Andrew Luck handles the big stage in Houston.
That's Captain Andrew Luck.
Captain Andrew Luck. I'm sorry, I forgot. He actually did tweet today, too. So that was a nice little treat for me when I was at work. No, I want to see how he's able to handle the Houston offensive line in a playoff game, especially a road playoff game.
Hopefully he faces the defensive line, just saying.
Defensive line, yeah. That's
if he's facing the offensive line, something went horribly wrong.
Or horribly right.
Yeah. He got traded to Houston mid-game.
And he can run one of Token Tony's dual quarterback
There
offenses.
you go. Luck and Watson in the same backfield.
No, I think this is a great test. It's going to be an exciting game. I like seeing these playoff games that are also division games, so I'm pretty excited about this one.
I think I'd probably select the other game, although nothing against the Indy-Houston game. I think the Seattle-Dallas game is interesting in the sense that a lot of people had written off Dallas, I think, coming into this season, and
Especially when they were 3-5 too.
yeah, exactly. And I think there was a thought of, Dak Prescott can't really be a starting quarterback going forward, and that's still, I think, a little bit to be determined with how good he maybe can be.
Right.
I think he certainly answered the bell this year in being a starting quarterback in the NFL. I don't think there's any question about that. So I think seeing that progression has been interesting, and to me, I think the biggest matchup per se of this weekend will be Seattle's relatively rancid defensive line and run-stopping defense against Ezekiel Elliott, who is can be the one-all, be-all, and just earn a W for you when you need it. So I think that'll be interesting. I think if he has a typical game where he can break a couple of runs and still be good out of the backfield, I think Dallas could do quite well. But on the flip side, he gets he has a rough one and can't really get any running room, and we have a good ball game.
Yeah, I mean, you look at Seattle and Dallas. You talk about we've long talked about Seattle away from home has had a tendency to struggle, but and Dallas this year has been pretty good at home, especially 7-1 this year. The only loss really being to the Titans on Monday Night Football. Like you said, Dak's coming up on contract year. I mean, even though Jerry's already said it's in the bag, we're going to get him. Talk is cheap. So
absolutely.
He's still got, I think this is his 4th year and then the 5th year option or something along those lines. Or
This is third, I believe.
This is his 3rd year? Okay, so he's coming up on the extension of the rookie deal, and we know how that works. You want to get your most successful years when you're only paying the quarterback X amount of money. But like you said, Ezekiel Elliott's going to be a key to this one. And then for me, personally, I'm interested in both games because I have futures bets on Dallas and Indianapolis. Remember before the season, Spike, when we did our random bets, I have the Dallas Cowboys. I think I'm the only one. I'm the only one with a dog in the fight now.
I have Buffalo and the Giants, so I think
You were out by week 4.
I think I'm pretty well out of it.
And I think the producer had the Raiders. The producer had the Lions, and Token had the Raiders.
That's right. Yes.
So
I do remember that somebody had the Raiders.
I'm wondering if collectively, did you guys even combine for the amount of wins that Dallas had? I mean, the Raiders had, 3? Yeah, they probably had a little bit over, but still. Both games are going to be exciting to watch, I think. I think we're actually going to get 2 of the better games. Hoping that WildCard Weekend usually kind of gives us the more action games than, say, the divisional round.
It can be, yes, very much so.
So, without further ado, again, we are the Vegas Squares Podcast. You can catch all of our podcasts on VegasSquares.com. We are also on 12 Ounce Sports Radio every Saturday, Sunday, Monday, and Thursdays. You can check the website at 12OunceSportsRadio.com for various times that we're on. I also want to thank the other podcast sponsors, VGK Pop Sockets, ChaiPoker.com, and Eric on the Web Productions.
Okay.
I was looking at something there. I thought that we're watching the end of the Golden Knights Ducks game here on Friday night. Is it Friday night?
It is.
It is Friday night. I don't know why you're checking out that broad, though. She's over 15, so she's really not
really?
in your
Thanksgiving Day parade?
I'm never going to let that go, dude.
That was pretty bad. She looked older. I'm telling you. That's not going to hold up in court.
Age situation.
Did you hear that day?
No, I was not.
Oh, so apparently on the Macy's Thanksgiving Day parade, there was a girl singing on the float. And I was like, man, she's attractive. And then we did a Google search, and she was 15.
Okay.
Yeah.
She was all...
To be fair, her face was completely dolled up, and the rest of her body had a giant parka on, so you couldn't really see that she was underdeveloped and all that.
I'll take all the excuses I can get. See, hopefully they hold up in court.
Let's hope, yeah. Wow.
All right.
Oh, you creep.
So let's kind of break it down. I kind of want to start with not picking the games. I actually found a bet on William Hill that excites me. I kind of want to make it. I want to implement it into a little prop bet for everybody, and Tony Johnson can be the proxy for Token Tony and make the pick. And I'm thinking if one of us hits it, I know that obviously I think we should bet him on William Hill. But if one of us hits it, our exacta, then we should you should make $5 or something.
Right.
But I think we should also make the actual bets on William Hill too. If you're not familiar with what an exacta is, basically William Hill offers this, and I'm sure Tony's more versed in this than I am. I'm sure other books offer the exacta as well. I just happened to see it in William Hill. Basically, you're picking the exact results of the Super Bowl. And when I say exact result, I don't mean just the matchup. I mean actually who's going to win over who. And let me open the William Hill app up here while I'm talking.
Yeah, and to add to that, I've never seen it where you have to actually get the winner as well. It is a very common bet, as you noted, Aaron, on the online books, where you are picking the two teams that face each other in the Super Bowl, and that's like an ongoing prop.
Right,
for
I've
these
seen
websites.
just the facing, but this
That's
one
the
actually
usual
goes.
one. This one is interesting because they actually have to get the winner too. So yeah,
Right.
obviously very difficult.
So the favorite right now, obviously, is still plus money, but that's Saints over Chiefs. That's
ones
the
and
one versus the one.
Yeah.
And the complete underdog is Colts over Eagles, which is 6 over 6. The Saints and Chiefs, Saints over Chiefs is plus 500. The Colts over the Eagles is 375 to 1. And then there's bets on every other matchup in between. So I think maybe we should each take 2 and place the bets and then have a little prop bet here on the podcast as well. What do you guys think?
All right.
I'm in. I have not studied this, but I'm ready to go.
That's okay. You're betting for Token. It's his money. You're playing with house money.
All right, fair enough. Good. I don't have to worry about it then.
All right. Well, you got your spreadsheet up there, Mr. Spreadsheet?
Yeah, I got to make a couple of adjustments here, but if you guys want to start looking and figuring out what you want to do, I can.
Why don't you lead off, Aaron?
All right, I'll go
Since
first with
you're
my
ready to
first
go.
pick.
Yep. Take your
I'll
first
take more closer to the favorite matchup, and my current matchup in the Super Bowl is what?
You have the Rams and the Patriots.
All right, so the Rams and the Patriots. Let's see. I'm trying to find it here. Man,
15 to 1.
is it 15 to 1? I must have gone by it. Yeah, Rams over the Patriots. What's Patriots over Rams?
Oh, that's a different one. Yeah.
Patriots over Rams is 22 to 1. So leading with the fact that I have that bet, I'm going to take my first pick, Patriots over Rams, at 22 to 1. So I'm going to lock that in here on my William Hill for, what do we make, $2 bets or $5 bets?
It doesn't matter. I have $0 in my William Hill account right now. So
That sounds like Token.
Sounds like you two are making $0 bets.
I am planning on reloading as soon as we're done recording here.
I tell you what, I'll put all the bets
the
in for
classic
$2
Token
each.
answer. He's a
and
reloader,
you guys
too.
can put the money in the jar
All
for
right.
the end of the season. So I got Patriots versus Rams. Tony, you can proxy a pick for Token there.
Absolutely. I am going to also be on the Rams here, but my first pick will be still a little bit of a long shot per se. I mean, not as long as some of these other ones are, but and I think we're going to start out with. This has been the one that's been the most
I
difficult.
think I know where he's going.
Finding a team out of the AFC has been the hardest part for me. I still believe since day one, I think the Rams are still the best team in the NFC. I just don't know where to come out of on the other side. But I'm going to start out with. No, but
Oh, really? Wow.
it's close. It's actually the other side, which is interesting the way you have that. I'm going to go with the Chargers over the Rams.
Okay.
Yes. So
I got to find it on here.
All Los Angeles Super
it was a
Bowl.
good guess. That's 40 to 1.
And where is the Super Bowl this year? Is it in Atlanta?
Wait, is it? Yeah.
Oh, I
yes.
have no idea.
Yeah, I think
so.
it is.
Yeah, I think it is. It is. Yes.
Chargers
Yeah,
over the
that's-
Rams.
Chargers over the Rams at 40 to 1.
Where are you, Chargers over Rams? Chargers over Rams is a more common, or is a more, I guess, closer to the favorite than Rams over Chargers.
Yes.
Really? Wow.
I thought that was. It is interesting, but I like how that one sets up at least for offensive sake.
All right, Spike, your pick.
I am going to take a regular season rematch with the same outcome. Give me the Patriots over the Bears. There
Yeah,
you
I
go.
saw that one coming.
Yep.
All right.
And keep in mind, I don't even have the Patriots going to the Super Bowl in my picks. I have the Bears and the Chiefs. But if the playoffs go, or at least
The
the
way
first
you want them
round,
to go.
the way I expect them to go, then it'll be the Patriots in the Super Bowl. I can see the Bears getting in there. I think New England can still take them out. So, New England over the Bears.
All right. My second pick will be a little bit more toward the middle of the pack as far as of odds. I'm actually going to take the Seahawks over the Chiefs, 55 to 1.
Ooh.
I like to see. I mean, the Seahawks got to go on the road. I know it's going to be tough, and obviously their road problems present woes. But I mean, I can't bet against my fiance. So.
That's fair. You're locking these in, right? So I don't have to keep track of the odds. I just have to keep track of the bets.
No,
Okay.
I'll have the bets here because we finished 5th and 6th pick, I'll bet them each $2.
All right.
Well, when originally you had come up with the idea to pick a team, to each pick a Super Bowl, I guess, possibility. This was back in week 4 or 5. Token was also MIA, and I made the first selection for him then. So I'm going to just continue with that selection because these two teams have done well, and I'm still kind of proud of that pick because it was still early on, and I'm not usually great with NFL type of futures. But I will. I like how you're predicting it. You got it. That's the one. We'll go with the Kansas City Chiefs over the LA Rams for 20-1. Nicely done, Aaron.
So I've been able to predict one of his and one of yours.
Pretty damn good.
Wow.
All right, let me think. While you're talking, I'm going to try to predict your second one here.
I kind of want to pick a completely batshit one just to screw with Aaron's predictions abilities. But then that would mean I would throw $1 in the jar, so I'm not sure I'm crazy about that idea. Man, I don't know. Some of these are, the lines themselves are a little bit wonky, so I'm not sure how crazy I am about them as far as the odds we're getting.
All right, I've picked one.
All right. I will take... I think this one is plausible.
You want to lighten us off?
I thought that you were going to say what you thought it would be before
I have it here picked. He can verify for just in case you think I'm bullshitting.
Give me the LA Chargers.
Nope, I didn't get it right.
Losing to the Saints.
Saints over Chargers.
Saints over Chargers.
All right, so Saints over Chargers is 18-1.
Oh, it's only 18-1. Ooh,
It's 18-1.
Yeah, and that's kind of the problem is that I was kind of looking for something with a little better odds.
When you said you were going out of left field, I
was going to pick the Ravens.
All right, now for one more pick, you've got to go with something bonkers. We got to get some long shots.
Oh shit! All right.
the third pick?
Yeah, we'll go third pick.
Oh, okay.
The longest, the
Big time long shot. Got it.
101 or over. The first one is Patriots over Eagles.
Okay.
So
Yeah,
think
that's
in
fine.
that range or crazier.
Sure.
All right.
No problem. Do
So
that.
I'll make the first pick, and I've already actually bet this once, so I'm not going to put it in again.
Nice.
And that's going to be Colts over Eagles. I'm taking the longest of shots, 6 versus 6, at 375-1.
Dig
awesome. Awesome. All right, I'm going to continue with my feel. The only game I really like this week is the Chargers to win, like for sure. So I feel like I have to kind of keep them in a pick here, and I'm just going to go with the longest shot on the field for them. It looks like here, so that will be the Cowboys over the Chargers at 225-1.
Ooh.
Cowboys over Chargers. There it is, 225. Got it.
Yep.
And Spike, your longest of out of left field shots
Well,
before we break down the two games.
I kind of don't want to pick them just because we had that prop bet going all year as to whether or not they would be a playoff team.
The Eagles over Ravens?
That is frustrating.
God.
Yeah, how much do you owe me for that one? I feel
$20.
$20. Man, I am just raking in on Spike. He did win the fantasy league, though.
That's true. So I mean,
So that's a wash right
that
there.
cancels out, so
Yeah.
we don't have to worry about
what does
that.
the fantasy league pay?
$20 from
Oh.
every player.
Oh,
So
I
he
guess-
still gets 40 from
Yeah.
20 each from Token and Desiree.
Got it. Oh, it's just a 14 league?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
just a
okay.
14. Yeah.
Which suck. I wish we had more, but you know.
Well, hopefully it can build. Maybe
Yeah.
we'll get some.
Some more people.
Maybe we'll get the one listener to join in next year too.
Although to be fair, if there were more people in it, I don't think I would have been able to grab like Mahomes in week 3. So
Yeah, the 14 league, our teams were stacked.
I would expect so.
While
yeah.
he's making his pick, we did 2 quarterbacks, 4 running backs, 4 receivers, 4 flex,
Ooh,
1 tight end.
very deep.
We did a kicker, but you only got points for 50-yard field goals.
Nice,
Yes.
like that.
You got 50 points for a 50-yard field goal. It was a huge scoring league.
Oh wow.
and 2 defenses,
And 5
five
defensive
5
players.
individual defensive players, 0 bench, 0 injured
Oh yeah,
reserve.
everybody started. No bench, no injured reserve. If you lost a guy, you had to cut him.
Just a
Yeah.
free for all.
It was fun.
batshit crazy.
Sounds
and
interesting, actually.
bye weeks were nuts. I mean,
It
it
have
was,
to be, yeah, because you have no bench. That's fantastic.
Well, there was a loophole where you could cut a defensive player and move one of your offensive players to a bench spot to keep him.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah.
I was just going to say that's if depending on what the scoring system
But
is.
then you had to take a
unload.
zero. Yeah, you had to take a zero.
Yeah.
So,
Okay.
all right, Spike, your long shot bet for the exacta.
Give me the Dallas Cowboys beating your Baltimore Ravens.
250 to 1?
Yeah, 250 to 1.
All right, fair enough. All right, so I got 8 total bets in here, plus the one I already made. $2 each on those. The other one, the Colts and Eagles game, actually has $5 on it. So I went large. I went high roller style. So.
God damn.
Say.
That must upgrade you to the next player level, right? So you can get like comps and
Actually, they're sending a jet from Northwest Las Vegas up to where's the hub in Las Vegas? Casino Royale. I'm getting a 2-night stay at Casino Royale.
That's probably true.
I don't know where they're. I mean, I know that there's ones in Ellis Island. Casino
SLS,
Royale.
I think.
Is SLS have one?
SLS has one.
A lot downtown.
Maybe I'll go to
Tons
SLS
downtown.
then. Maybe I'll request to go to SLS. I'll say, look, I put 5 on this game at 375 to 1. The other fools just put 2.
You know, they used to do a thing where if you would deposit or initial deposit of $500 or more, they would send somebody to your house to set up the app on your phone for you.
I remember reading about that. Yep,
Yeah.
it's true.
That's wild.
Yeah, or your work, like while you're at work too. It was great. Yeah, it was at work. You have somebody come into work, they'd sign up other people while you're working. You know, your coworkers. Good
Like
stuff.
the ultimate proxy. Speaking of proxies, I got into a Twitter conversation with one of the proxies. We talked about
Kelly
it
in
a lot.
Vegas.
Kelly in Vegas. Yeah, I asked her.
I like Kelly.
I asked her how much the service was. She told me she was very upfront with it. $300 for the 17 weeks. Which again, if you're an out of town person wanting to play that Westgate or any of those contests,
Perfect.
$18 a week to not have to live in Vegas, fly to Vegas, or deal with the traffic of the lines. That seems like there was
100%.
one. I like to call him a nit. There was one nit on there just poo-pooing the whole thing. He's like, I don't want to pay Vig to put my own picks in. I'm like, well, then good luck living in Orange County and playing the Westgate
then don't
Super
do it,
Contest.
right?
Yeah, exactly. Well, there's always going to be, Twitter's full of those guys. So, anyways, so we hope actually I got the okay. We hope actually to have Kelly on one of our podcasts here before the Super Bowl, too.
Good. Yeah,
So,
she was interesting when I talked to her earlier. I was in I think I told you I was in a line waiting to make a bet.
hoping
She's,
for the
she's a lady.
in studio version, but the phone's okay too. She's not bad to look at. So
It's true.
Wow.
we won't have the producer on that show.
There we go.
All right, so let's get into the picks. We've got 2 games, and they could go a lot of different ways. The spreads are razor thin here. We'll start with the early game, Indianapolis at Houston. Indianapolis has already walked into Houston and beat them once, and should not have lost to them in Indianapolis. I think I've made that pretty evident. My pissed off
You were
at
very
Frank
upset about
Reich.
that,
Yeah, well, having the I don't remember what the spread was, but having Indianapolis and then not covering based on that dumb move to go for it on 4th down. But nevertheless, Indianapolis still got into the playoffs. I think Indianapolis might have won the division if they would have just taken that tie, right?
Yeah, they were a game back, so
Yeah.
yes, there you
So
go.
maybe it would have been, I don't know. Who knows? Anyways, nevertheless, they're going to face each other for the trilogy of 2018 here. The current line is Houston -1.5. The total 48.5. Again, all of our lines are provided by covers.com. So if you have something else, obviously, that's obviously possible. But this is what I have here. Action's pretty dead even, 52 to 48 as far as the 1.5. So for our prop bet or for our bet here for the playoffs, how are we going to work this, Spike? Are we going to pick against the spread and the total?
Yeah, I think that makes sense only because there's only 4 games per week for the first couple of weeks. So the more bets that we can make, the more we can kind of hedge our mistakes and everything else and try to build up those points because we are doing this throughout the entirety of the playoffs for $50 per person.
So for the wild card, each pick will be worth 1 point. You've got to pick the spread and the total. For the divisional round, we'll say each pick is worth 2 points. You got to pick both.
Yeah.
Championship round, we'll say each pick is worth 5 points, and then the Super Bowl 10. Or is that too much?
I think that's probably too much.
So 1, 2, 3, and 4, then maybe 1, 2, 3, and 5.
Yeah. 1, 2, 3, 5. Yeah, that could, 1, 2, 3, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, I'll kind of run the numbers and run a couple.
We're going to make it up as we go along, just like we do every podcast.
Yeah, that does seem
right.
to that's worked. Well, it's worked for you because you won the fucking regular season. So.
Yeah. So I totally just scammed you guys. Anyways, all right. So this week we know for a fact will be 1 point per each pick. You've got to make picks on both the spread and the total, and the max you can win, the max you can get is 8 for this week. So without further ado, again, Indianapolis, Houston, 1.5 points is Houston's the favorite, and Indianapolis Lost my train of thought. Houston is the favorite at 1.5 points. The total is 48.5.
Wow.
So Spike, you're shut the fuck up. Go. Make your picks.
I'm starting against the spread, and I am taking Houston minus the 1.5. I don't necessarily know if I believe in this pick more than I just want Houston to win, because I don't want Indy to go to Kansas City, because that kind of fucks up New England's path to the Super Bowl in my eyes. But I do like I like the way that Houston's been playing lately. I think that Winston to Hopkins combo is deadly, and I don't think Indy has the secondary to be able to stop it. I definitely like what I'm seeing, and I think that Houston can keep the ball on the ground and kind of keep the ball out of Andrew Luck's hands late. So give me Houston minus the 1.5.
Are we doing the total too? We're going to do that on the second go round for totals.
I guess
we can do it
I guess
now.
we are now.
I was trying to build.
No, that's fine.
Okay.
We'll do the spreads. We'll do the totals. Go
Okay.
ahead.
So as you know, I'm picking for Token this week, and
Tokens proxy.
this is the proxy. I'm not charging either. Unlike Kelly would
Unlike
not
Kelly.
be happy with me. No, she'd say I should be charging for this, but no. Indy plus 1.5 here, and this is a relatively easy one to defend. A team that's won 8 out of their last 9 games, and finally have a top tier quarterback that gets back and fully playing and looks very much 100%, and a team that has really come along from their offensive line as well. It's an O line that has come up from maybe one of the worst lines, or at least in the bottom 5 worst last year, to maybe top 3. Quite a transformation, and I think that's made Luck's season a lot easier, being able to establish a running game and seeing the rise of Marlon Mack. So this is a pretty easy one to defend here. The line has already moved down. I know it's opened around 2.5. It's already down in the 1.5 range. So we're going to be on Indy over here, getting 1.5 points.
Yeah, as much as I like to fade Token, I think I'm on Token's proxy side here.
Okay.
I'm taking Indy plus the 1.5. I actually would love to take the money line, but that's not the way this bet's going to be. So naturally, give me the 1.5 points. I think Andrew Luck's firing, like you said, 8 of the last 9, or it might even been 9 out of the last 10. I think because they started 1-5, and they finished 10-6. They've been pretty average on the road overall, just straight up. But against the spread, they've been pretty good, 60%. So I think I'm going to take the 1.5 points on top of the fact that I still have the futures bet with the Colts. Hopefully they can get through this game, and then I can start looking at maybe a hedge. I'll have about $2,200 to play with.
Oh wow, good.
So I'm going to be on Indy in this one as far as the spread, plus 1.5 points.
All right, and for the total at 48.5, I'm going under in this spot. I think Houston's defense is good enough to stop Indy, especially on the road. Indy's only 4-4 on the road this year, so I'm not super concerned about Luck, especially with Houston being 6-2 at home. And again, I think Houston can get up early, and I think they get up enough that they can just run out the clock, and I think this game stays under the 48.5.
Over here, we also have the under 48.5, and we'll see. It's kind of both games they've played so far this year. One went way over, one went way under, and both lines were just about 48.5 in both of the previous games. So that's kind of interesting to see that. But that's where we're at as well. I think just the rise of both defenses as the season has gone along here seems to make the most sense. That's kind of our take, at least.
Fair enough. I think both defenses are going to play well. I think this game will be around the 24-24 for each team, which sits right around the 48. I think Adam Vinatieri makes his presence known with a game-winning field goal.
Ooh, that's a token play right there.
To push it over the 48.5. I'll say 27-24 Colts. So, all right, well, that's our first game. Second game here we have in the bag will be Seattle at Dallas. Again, Dallas is a 2.5-point favorite. The total currently right now is 43.5. Again, you talked about it, Tony, with Dak Prescott. This is kind of he's had one playoff game. He got beat by Rodgers on the crazy, drive, so to speak. Nothing you can do about that. I believe he was a rookie then, correct?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, I mean, a little more seasoning under his belt. Yep. I think a little more wiggle room in the offense. He's got Amari Cooper, who's been, kind of big for him. Last couple of games hasn't really been a factor, but Again, Zeke Elliott's going to have to be able to pace against the defense of Seattle, who hasn't been great this year. And again, Seattle's been not great on the road, very under 500, and against the spread, they're at 500. But nevertheless, it's hard to really count out Russell Wilson. As much as he probably could have and maybe should have been the MVP last year, I thought when you break down actual valuable player to a team, he may be the most valuable player in the NFL as far as being value to a team. I mean, you take any other regular quarterback on this team may be fighting for the first pick, in my opinion.
Wow. Ooh, wow. Really?
I
that's a bold statement. Wow.
Do you not believe that?
I don't. I think that's overstating it a bit. I still have some pieces that
I think they're a 5-11, 6-10 team without him.
Yeah, that's not fighting for a number one pick.
I mean, the number one pick's 3-13 this year. I'm saying they could be on the door.
difference.
Okay, fighting for a top 5 pick. Does that help your?
A little bit. You're still wrong, but it's a little bit better.
If you don't believe that take Russell Wilson out of it, who's their backup quarterback?
7-win difference. So what did they win? 10 games this year? That's a lot.
No, I'll revise and I'll say they'd be 5-11 or 6-10. They'd flip their record, I would say. You don't think the Seahawks with whoever their backup is, or
but you're going to say that about a lot of teams. Every team, if they lose not every team, a lot of teams, if they lose their starter, the backup is going to be generally significantly worse. I think we could say that about a large chunk of decent teams in the NFL.
Okay, well then fine. I'll stick with my claim and say that they would be fighting for the number one pick. I think he's that meaningful to this team. Okay. Especially with losing everybody on defense.
No, to me he just feels like an average to a slightly above average quarterback.
Oh, I disagree wholeheartedly.
Yeah, no, I know. I know you have a hard on for him, and that's fine, but it's to me, having watched him play recently, I mean, again, in previous years I think he's been a better player, but as time has gone on, I have not found him to take he's not risen to the next level. He has not become a more accurate passer down the field, which was always the knock on him. And to me, I haven't seen him take the next step. Now, he doesn't have a lot of great pieces around him, so I'm not saying that he's blessed with all his greatness necessarily around him. But to me,
that's the thing. And I would say in the beginning of his career, I would have said all of those things. He would not have been the most valuable player on,
he had a great
on
defense,
those teams.
though, in the beginning
Great
of his career.
defense. He had Marshawn Lynch.
Right.
Now he's got none of that, and he's still 10-6. Put him in the playoffs. The road struggles are obviously very well known, but I mean, I don't know. I'm hard pressed to look at just wild card weekend. If you took the quarterbacks off of each of these teams, with the exception of Indianapolis, I would be hard pressed to say that you put an average quarterback in one of these teams that they'd be okay.
All right, so
a lot more okay.
Let me ask it the other way. If we put Russell Wilson as the starter for Arizona this year, do you think they're a playoff team?
Yes. I thought their defense was pretty good. Yes.
Wow.
Well, it's easy to make these. They're what ifs that are never going to come to fruition.
Right. No, I understand that, but
that was a surprising answer. I didn't expect that.
Well, I mean, when you say I guess playoff team, I'd say they're an 8-win team. I'd say they're an 8-win team because last year with the exact same roster, they were an 8-8-win team with Carson Palmer, and I think Russell Wilson's better than Carson Palmer.
Well, they had a rookie head coach too, and there were some growing pains in some other positions.
Not last year. I'm talking about last year. Last year the Cardinals were 8-8 with Carson Palmer. I'm saying if you put Carson Palmer on the exact same, or if you put Russell Wilson on the exact same team, which would be pretty much this year. I mean, they had David Johnson. Their entire defense was pretty much there. Larry Fitzgerald. I'd say they'd probably stay right around 8-8, maybe 9-7. So, anyways, again, neither here nor there because that's all pure speculation. You're right. A playoff team may have been a bit of a bold claim. But, again, I can make bold claims when we know that's never going to happen.
No, that's fair. All right.
So, all right, let's get back to the game. Dallas and Seattle, 2.5. Spike. Shut the hell up and make your pick.
All right, so I disagree that Russell Wilson is that good, so I'm taking Dallas minus the 2.5.
Yeah. Well, don't forget, Spike's been wrong a lot this year.
That, while true, I did come on very strong at the end of the year and actually made a game of it.
You got come on strong? Yeah,
so,
that's good.
Yes, that is typically what happens when you have to pay the rent. So I try.
Nice.
I am not so much concerned with Seattle as I am with Dallas. Dallas being 7-1 at home, I think is just too strong. I think that they have too many weapons for Seattle, especially with that decimated defense. And I especially think that Zeke's going to have a monster game. Dak's not going to have to do too much in this game, but I think he can do enough to still push him over the top. Dallas minus 2.5. I think even if they win by a field goal, I'm going to feel fine, but I expect them to win by double digits.
Winning by a field goal covers.
Yeah, I don't terribly disagree with that one, but these are tokens picks, so we have to go with what we have in front of us. And he does have Seattle getting the 2.5 here. Expecting a close game. Again, a double-digit win by Dallas. I'm kind of with you, Spike. I don't think it's necessarily out of the question at all, but I do expect a closer game here. Again, going back to the Russell Wilson scenario, he is a veteran quarterback that has been in a lot of big games before, and he's just a guy that will very unlikely make big mistakes. And so you get a quarterback that's an above-average player that doesn't make big mistakes. You're usually going to be in a lot of games. So, again, tough defense he's facing certainly this week, and I think it'll be a really nice game. But we have Seattle plus 2.5.
All right, for all the love I just gave Russell Wilson, I'm actually going to fade him. Although I disagree with Spike, I do believe Seattle with this week will game plan to stop Ezekiel Elliott. I think they believe if Dak Prescott beats us, so be it. That being said, I think Dak's going to have to play optimal quarterback this week. I'm going to make another bold claim. Not that it's not any points or anything, but I'm going to say Ezekiel Elliott has less than 75 yards on the ground.
Ooh. It's relatively bold. His number is like 93, 95 right now.
Yeah, I'm going to say Seattle does what they can to stop him. Hoping for Seattle to play well. I have no real dog in the fight as far as futures bets. That being said, I believe Dallas will cover the 2.5 points. I believe it's a 6 to 8 point victory. If I had to throw a number out there, 28-20. Oh wait, we're doing.
I was just going to say we're doing the total. So clearly,
so I'll start with the total. I'll take the over. I think it's going to be 28, around the 28-20 range. So I'll start with the over.
So I'm going to, and I meant to do this during the first part of this, but take issue with what you were saying about Amari Cooper not being used in the last few weeks, which I think is true, but I think that's typical of any team that's coached by an offensive-minded head coach, where they kind of roll back the game plan going into the playoffs, so that way they're not giving away too much when the playoffs finally roll around. I think that he has been kind of hidden on purpose, so that way other teams will think, kind of get lulled into a false sense of security that they may not have to put their best corners or their best DBs on him. But I think Cooper can have a big game, and I think they're going to plan to use...
Oh, no doubt. He can definitely have a big game. Absolutely.
I think they're going to plan to use Zeke first, Cooper second, and not worry about the other weapons.
Don't forget about Blake Jarwin. That guy came out of nowhere.
That being said, I think Dallas gets up. The same scenario as the Houston game. Dallas gets up early. They keep the ball on the ground with Zeke. Seattle can't keep up. I like this game to go under the 43.5.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, once they clinched against Philadelphia, you have a total of 13 catches for about 83 yards.
But he played the whole game last week, which was surprising. He was out there in the fourth quarter.
But, I mean, it wasn't like he wasn't targeted. We have 11 targets, 9 targets, and 8 targets. So he was definitely thrown at.
He was. I watched it last week. It was amazing.
I don't disagree with you. They may have scaled back the offense in a sense with that, but he was still on the field for a lot of plays. So, all right, your total.
We have the over 43.5 here. This is one of those that, in a personal sense, I have absolutely no idea where to go. It does seem like a really good number to me, just in a sense of we have two ball control type of teams, two teams that don't play all that fast. They're both in the bottom half of plays per game, and this total makes a lot of sense here. We've talked about already Dallas being a much better team at home and certainly scoring a lot more at home than they do on the road. So. We have the over 43.5. I'm guessing the token. We'll give another tokenism here. We're going to go with 24-21 on a field goal at the end to cover the over.
Hey.
or you have to go with the. I could see him winning by a touchdown. I could see him winning by a backdoor field goal. Like he's all over. He can see lots of things. He's like a fucking Miss Cleo of sports betting.
Yeah.
So, all right. Well, those are our 2 picks. Wild card weekend. We have Indianapolis and Houston. We have Seattle and Dallas. Starts our prop bet here with 1 point each. For hopefully, I'll have 4 points by the end of Saturday if everything goes well. Tony, you were talking about not as a proxy, but personally, you had a lot of prop bets going on in Wild Card Weekend. Any prop bets, player prop bets, or anything like that you got for these 2 games?
A lot of good stuff. That's already worked out. So we'll piggyback here on the Seattle Dallas game while we're still on it. The main one, the one I like the best, is Chris Carson under. I got it at 76.5 rushing yards. It's down to 70 on Will Hill right now.
Wow.
Yeah, which is a pretty big move. And now he's averaging I think 115 yards the last 3 weeks. So it does kind of look a little awkward there. He's getting the ball quite a bit, but this is just a distinct play in the situation that he's in. Again, Dallas at and especially at home. Dallas's defense, they're only allowing I think it's like 3.2 yards a carry at home to opposing running backs, and it's just, to me, this is going to be one of those where if anything happens in this game where Seattle runs into some trouble and they get behind in the second half, I think that Mike Davis will play a lot more in the second half as well, actually, because he's not only a better pass catcher, but he's also a better blocker.
And don't forget about Spike's favorite player, Rashad Penny.
Okay.
Oh, God. What a fucking waste of time that guy is.
There you go. So, yeah, he may play a little bit too.
Maybe I got that wrong.
But, yes, maybe not. Maybe he's not your favorite. But,
have you never listened to the podcast? You've been in the room.
I remember a Rashad Penny rant once.
Your mic's not even on,
I don't know
dude.
if there was even more. So for that one, and then the other one is actually another running back prop. It's Marlon Mack under 58.5 rushing yards for Indy. This is another one that has moved down quite a bit. It's actually at 51 on Will Hill. So
damn.
I was surprised.
That.
I was surprised that this one moved as much as because a lot of people don't like betting unders.
I like the over 51.
51 does seem like we're kind of getting into that range too. But that is probably the best rush defense in the NFL, and I do think this is going to be a back and forth kind of slugfest, annoying game. So that was more my take there. I just don't think Marlon Mack's going to be on the field a ton either. I think that Hines will play a bunch because they're going to get into a lot of third downs.
And they have another guy, right? Wilkins or whatever his name?
Wilkins plays a little bit. Jordan Wilkins out of Ole Miss. He plays a little bit, but he's more of a specialty kind of back. He only played 15 snaps last week, although he did have, I think, 4 touches. But, yeah, he's not as involved. But, yeah, he certainly could be. I just feel like Nyheim Hines makes much more sense.
Sure, no, I'm just saying, another guy on the field takes away plays.
It's all snaps for me. But I doubt that Mack gets a ton of snaps in this game, even probably much more than 30 or 35. And to me, you just got to bet the under there.
Yeah, if it's down to 51, I feel like, where did you find that at?
That's Will Hill. Yep, same
I might
Will Hill,
jump on the over on that one because I think
53 at the Superbook.
I think Mac's been playing pretty well this year when he's been healthy. Obviously, he missed the first few games, which may have contributed to the 1-5 start for Indianapolis. Mm-hmm. Anything else you got on the board for those player props that you like? Maybe you haven't bet, but maybe it's something you like.
There was another one, and again, hate to keep beating the same drum here, but Lamar Miller was at 56, and he's now down to 53. I like the under there as well, but I did not fire on that one yet. Again, same.
They got nothing for Zeke either.
They do have Zeke. Yeah, Zeke at 93.
I'll take the under on that one.
93.
Is that minus 110 either way?
Yes, that one I didn't have much of a strong opinion. If I had to lean somewhere, I'd actually lean on the over. Because I do kind of like Dallas in the game, and if Dallas can roll in this thing, I mean, he's going to be well over 100.
Yeah, that's true. If Dallas rolls, then he's definitely going to get fed. So.
But I don't have much of a distinct opinion on that one. But yeah, his number was 93 there, and we talked about Amari Cooper. He is right around 70, depending on where you look at it.
That's a good number.
70 yards. I think that one seems fair too. I agree. So
fair enough.
Yeah.
So anything you like on those? You think Zeke over under 93? There's Spike?
Yeah. Where do you stand on Zeke?
Zeke, I think over, and I think it's going to be garbage time over.
Okay.
You guys really think Dallas is going to roll this game? Huh?
Yeah.
I mean, I think Dallas. I picked Dallas. I think Dallas is going to win. But I feel like Seattle plays the type of football that they're never really out of it. I mean, you saw that against the Rams. You obviously saw that against the Chiefs. But at the same time, you saw that against the Cardinals, where they definitely play down to the competition as well. But they're not going to be playing down to the Dallas Cowboys at home. So
no, and I think Dallas is too good at home. I think that crowd's going to be rocking and rolling in there, and I think it's not really going to screw up Russell Wilson, but I think it could screw up the rest of the team around him, which I'm not super happy about. The one thing that I was looking at as far as a player prop bet goes is T.Y. Hilton receiving yards. It's currently at 85.5. Today's the first time that I've looked at it, so I don't know where it opened or anything like that. But I think if Indy has a chance to be in this game and be in this game well, I think it has to be on Hilton's shoulders. So if you believe in Indy, I think you have to take the over in that
82
one.
Spike. Opened at 82.
It opened at 82.
Mhm.
Okay.
I looked at that one too. So yeah, I kind of liked the over a little bit as well. And then when it moved up, I was like, I can't really. He's questionable to play too. Do we know much more about that? I hear he's going to play, but he was still on the injury board. I don't know.
I never put too much stock in a questionable diagnosis. That typically to me just means that they're putting him on the injury report.
I think questionable or greater he's in, especially in a playoff game.
Yeah, that's what I figured. It
would have to be something crazy in warm-ups. And Spike, to your point there with T.Y. Hilton, he has played 7 games at NRG Stadium. He averages 133 yards a game, 41 catches, 933 yards.
There we go.
During his 7
one
games.
team.
At NRG.
Wow, that's impressive. It's one team.
Then I'm definitely loading up my William Hill account tonight. Then
what? $6? So, all right. Well, that being said, let's wrap it up here for the Saturday edition of the NFL Picks and Chatter, because there is no Picks and Chatter for the NCAA. So.
No.
Our Saturday consists of NFL football, and our Sunday consists of a second dose of NFL football, which if you listen tomorrow in the morning, we will have the Sunday wildcard games, which is LA at Baltimore and Philadelphia at Chicago. So tune in tomorrow on 12 Ounce Sports Radio or catch our podcast at vegassquares.com. Click the podcast tab, click the listen tab, click the podcast tab, and all of our podcasts are right there. Actually, this will be under Picks and Chatter, so click the listen tab, click the Picks and Chatter tab.
For fuck's sake.
Just go to vegassquares.com and get your shit done. Well, I have had people on Twitter go, I can't find your podcast. I'm like, well, how about the big fucking sign that says podcast on it? So I wasn't that mean to him, but I was trying to help him along.
You have been, though, in the past week.
Not when it comes to our website.
Twitter. I know, but you have been mean on Twitter.
I have just been retaliating on Twitter.
Okay.
I haven't started a mean
you're not
thread.
starting,
I've
okay.
just continued a mean thread.
I see. Okay.
Yeah, I've been kind of a dick, so
Yeah.
I probably need to tone that down a little bit. So.
Yeah, it's fine. I think it's fine. It's entertaining, at least for people that are reading them.
Exactly. So, all right. Well, without much further ado, we want to thank the sponsors: 12 Ounce Sports Radio, VGK Pop Sockets, ChaiPoker.com, Eric on the Web Productions, and I want to thank Spike and Proxy Tony here for sitting in for Token, making his picks.
It's better than fake token.
That is better than fake Token. Proxy Token. How about Tony in Vegas? How about Tony in Vegas?
Tony in Vegas.
Tony in Vegas.
All right.
There we
I
go.
can be with Kelly. That'll be good. All right.
You're not as cute.
No, not even close.
You're a little more beardsy than
Not
Kelly.
even close. Yeah, that's why she sells. Nothing wrong with that.
Fair enough. If she had a beard, she might sell more. I don't know.
She'd have definitely a small, distinct community of people that would like that.
The bearded,
This is going off the rails right now.
the bearded proxy. All right. That being said, we are out. We will catch you tomorrow on Sunday's podcast for more NFL picks. For Spike, for Proxy Tony, I am Aaron. We appreciate you listening.